FBI Special Agent Michael Macys drove 30 blocks of C4 plastic explosive into Philadelphia in January 1985, 4 months before the city dropped that same C4 on a black neighborhood from a helicopter. He carried 37.5 pounds of military-grade explosive. Nobody at the FBI had ordered the delivery. Nobody at the Philadelphia Police Department had requested it. Neither agency kept a single piece of paper documenting the transfer. 4 months later, on May 13, 1985, Lieutenant Frank Powell of the Philadelphia Bomb Squad assembled a satchel charge using 1 block from that same stockpile. A Pennsylvania State Police helicopter hovered 60 feet above 6221 Osage Avenue. Powell lit a 45-second fuse. He dropped the bomb at 5:28 in the evening. 11 people died inside that house. 5 of them were children. The Standard story says the bombing was a desperate tactical decision in the heat of a long siege. The FBI's own records prove the bomb had been sitting in a Philadelphia Police Academy locker since January 1985, waiting for a reason to be used. MOVE was founded in 1972 by a Korean War veteran named Vincent Leaphart, who renamed himself John Africa. The organization started as the Christian Movement for Life in West Philadelphia. Africa wrote a foundational doctrine he called the Guidelines, a 300-page text that rejected what he called synthetic education. Everyone in MOVE took the surname Africa: children, adults, generations, one family. By the early 1980s, MOVE was operating out of a row house at 6221 Osage Avenue in the Cobbs Creek neighborhood. They lived communally. They ate a vegan diet. They homeschooled their children. They advocated for animal rights. They practiced armed neighborhood defense openly on a megaphone-equipped rooftop bunker. To the city of Philadelphia, MOVE was a public nuisance. To the FBI and the Philadelphia Police Department, MOVE was something else. By 1978, MOVE members had been arrested 193 times across 93 open court cases. In August 1978, Philadelphia police raided a MOVE compound in Powelton Village. Officer James Ramp was killed in the firefight. 9 MOVE members were convicted of his murder. They became known as the MOVE 9. Among them were the mothers of 3 children who would later die in the May 1985 bombing. The mothers were in state prison when their children burned. That was the system before the helicopter took off. May 13, 1985 was scheduled. The standoff was not improvised. Wilson Goode, the first black mayor of Philadelphia, had authorized the operation. His managing director was Leo A. Brooks, a retired U.S. Army brigadier general. His police commissioner was Gregor J. Sambor. His fire commissioner was William C. Richmond. By 5 o'clock in the afternoon, MOVE was still inside. Sambor and Brooks had retreated to a temporary command post on the 9th floor of a nearby geriatric center. They were watching their own city burn through a window. Powell and his bomb squad were on the street at Pine Street and Cobbs Creek Parkway, building the satchel charge. At 5:20 in the afternoon, a Pennsylvania State Police helicopter took off. At 5:28, Powell dropped the bomb. The detonation ignited a gasoline-powered generator on the roof. Within 20 minutes, the row house was on fire. Within the hour, 61 homes across 2 city blocks were on fire. By the end of the night, 250 people were homeless and 11 people inside the MOVE house were dead. The 5 children were Tommaso Africa, 9 years old, Phil Africa, 11 years old, Delisha Africa, 12 years old, Netta Africa, 12 years old, Tree Africa, also known as Katricia Dotson, 14 years old. Where Philadelphia got the military explosive in the first place is documented. An October 1985 letter from the FBI started the trail. That letter is why this video exists. Subscribe. 2 days after the bombing, on May 15, 1985, a reporter asked Lieutenant Frank Powell whether the device had contained military plastic explosive. Powell said on the record that they did not have any C4. He said he would like to have it and that the only place they could purchase it was in Canada and it was extremely expensive. That statement was a lie. 3 months later, on August 8, 1985, Philadelphia's managing director James S. White publicly admitted the device had contained C4 after all. Then came October 22, 1985, and a letter signed by Wayne G. Davis, the FBI special agent in charge of the Philadelphia field office. The letter said the C4 had come from the FBI. The agent who delivered it was named Michael Macys. He was the Bureau's bomb expert in Philadelphia. In January 1985, Macys loaded 30 blocks of C4 plastic explosive, 1¼ pounds each, 37½ pounds total, into a vehicle. He drove the explosive from the FBI's Philadelphia field office to the Philadelphia Police Academy. He also carried several sticks of Tovex TR2, a DuPont commercial mining explosive the manufacturer had never authorized for above-ground use. Macys handed all of it over to the Philadelphia Police Department bomb squad. Then he left. No one had requested the delivery. The Philadelphia police had not asked for explosives. There was no move confrontation actively scheduled in January 1985. The standoff that would consume Osage Avenue was 4 months away. Macys did not file paperwork on the transfer. The Philadelphia Police Department did not file paperwork either. The Philadelphia Special Investigation Commission, impaneled by Mayor Good after the bombing and chaired by attorney William H. Brown III, would later try to reconstruct the chain of custody for the C4. The commission's final report, released March 6, 1986, contained one of the strangest sentences in any government investigation report in American history. The commission wrote, "Delivery of this amount of C4 to any local police force without restrictions as to its use is inappropriate. Neither agency kept any records of the transaction. The FBI agent told the commission that he never had to keep any kind of records or anything regarding C4. Macys also told the commission he had made the delivery while, in his own words, in fear of losing my job. He did not explain what he was afraid of. After the bombing, the FBI retrieved its C4 stockpile from the police academy. When they counted what they got back, 6 pounds were missing. Wayne G. Davis confirmed the loss in his October 22nd letter. 6 pounds of military plastic explosive walked out of a Philadelphia police facility, and the FBI's only record of the explosive ever being there in the first place was a letter written 8 months after the fact. When Powell and his bomb squad built the satchel charge on the afternoon of May 13th, they began with 2 tubes of Tovex from the January delivery. Officer William Klein looked at the assembly and decided it was not enough. On his own authority, Klein added 1 block, 1¼ pounds, of the FBI's A4 to the top of the satchel. The combined device contained a commercial mining explosive never approved for above-ground use and 1 block of pre-positioned military plastic explosive that nobody at either agency could account for. The DuPont specifications for that Tovex and C4 combination listed a detonation temperature range of 3,000 to 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit. An eyewitness in a neighboring building described the fireball that engulfed the rooftop bunker as reaching 7,200 degrees. The scale of that fireball underscores how much was at stake. 45 seconds after Powell lit the fuse, the bomb that the FBI had pre-positioned 4 months earlier detonated above 5 sleeping children. Inside the house, the temperature exceeded what any human body could survive. The bunker collapsed. The basement collapsed. Some MOVE members tried to escape through a back alley. Finding 28 of the MOVE Commission final report reads, police gunfire in the rear alley prevented the escape from the fire of some occupants of the MOVE house. Police were shooting at the survivors. They were shooting at children running from a fire the city had refused to extinguish. That refusal had a name. Fire Commissioner William C. Richmond testified under oath that the firefighters had been ordered to delay response. He said that the plan was then to drive the people out of the house, and that firefighting was deliberately withheld for that reason. The fire was an instrument. The siege was the building. The MOVE Commission delivered its full verdict on March 6, 1986. The report described the operation as reckless, ill-conceived, and hastily approved. The decision to drop a bomb on an occupied row house it called unconscionable. It found Sambor and Brooks grossly negligent. It found Mayor Good grossly negligent for failing to halt the operation when he knew children were inside. Commissioner Charles Bowser, one of the panel's most senior members, addressed the racial dimension directly. Bowser wrote that Good and Brooks did not shoot 10,000 bullets into that house. They did not put military explosives into the bomb. They did not decide to let the bunker burn. And they did not shoot at children trying to escape the fire. I know none of that would have happened in a white neighborhood, and so do you. 2 grand juries were convened, 1 local, 1 federal. Both declined to bring criminal charges against any government actor. Sambor resigned in November 1985. Powell stayed with the department. Good won re-election in 1988. The only person ever disciplined for the C4 was Special Agent Michael Macys. The discipline came on April 18, 1989, 4 years after the bombing. Macys was suspended 30 days without pay. The suspension was not for the unauthorized transfer. It was for withholding information about the transfer from federal investigators afterward. He was never criminally charged. He kept his job. In June 1996, a federal civil jury awarded Ramona, Africa, and the families of 2 bombing victims $1.5 million. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals in Africa versus City of Philadelphia held that dropping a bomb on a person's home was not a Fourth Amendment seizure. The individual officials received qualified immunity. The city itself paid the settlement. The bones, however, were not finished. In 1985, partial remains of 2 movie children were routed through the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's office. On September 23, 1986, a box of those remains was walked from the medical examiner's office to the University of Pennsylvania Museum. The receiving curator was Janet Monge. Her doctoral advisor, Penn anthropologist Alan Mann, took the bones with him when he moved to Princeton in 2001. The remains belonged in part to a 14-year-old girl named Patricia Dotson, called Tree by her family. They also included partial remains of a 12-year-old, Delisha, Africa. For nearly 40 years, those bones moved between Penn and Princeton anthropology departments. In 2019, Janet Monge used them as a case study in an online Coursera teaching video titled Real Bones Adventures in Forensic Anthropology. Tree's mother, who had been in prison during the bombing, did not know. In 2017, Philadelphia Health Commissioner Thomas Farley discovered additional moved remains in a medical examiner's office storage box. Without notifying the victims' families, he ordered the remains cremated. The remains were not actually cremated. When the story broke in April 2021, Farley resigned on May 13, 2021, exactly 36 years after the bombing. On November 14, 2024, the Penn Museum announced the discovery of additional movie remains it had previously denied possessing. The remains were believed to belong to Delisha, Africa. In March 2025, the city of Philadelphia settled with Delisha's brother Lionel Dotson for $250,000. 2 months later, Penn settled separately. Walter Wallace Jr. was 27 years old when Philadelphia police shot and killed him in October 2020. The shooting happened less than a mile from 6221 Osage Avenue. The next month, on November 12, 2020, Philadelphia City Council passed a formal apology for the move bombing. The resolution was sponsored by Council member Jamie Gauthier. In the floor speech, Gauthier said, "We can draw a straight line from the unresolved pain and trauma of that day to Walter Wallace Jr.'s killing earlier this week in the very same neighborhood. Because what's lying under the surface here is a lack of recognition of the humanity of black people from law enforcement. It took the city of Philadelphia 35 years to apologize. Nobody has ever held the FBI criminally responsible for the C4. Yvonne Orr is Delisha Africa's older sister. On December 9, 2024, at a press conference at Philadelphia City Hall, Orr spoke publicly about what Penn Museum had done with her sister's remains. Her words on the record were, It's domestic terrorism. It is criminal. I want the people held accountable. I want them arrested. I want my sister. I want her to rest. Ramona Africa was the only adult who escaped the burning house. She ran out the back, severely burned, into the same alley where police were firing. Ramona Africa was arrested. She was charged with riot and conspiracy. She was convicted. Ramona served the full 7 years of her sentence because parole would have required her to dissociate from MOVE, and she refused. She was released on May 13, 1992, exactly 7 years to the day after she walked out of the fire. John Africa, born Vincent Leapart, the Korean War veteran who founded MOVE, died inside the house. He was 44 years old. The FBI has never identified the agent or agents who handled the chain of custody for the 6 pounds of missing C4. The October 22, 1985 letter from Wayne G. Davis remains the only FBI document acknowledging the January transfer. Michael Macys was never criminally charged. He was never publicly named in FBI records of the bombing. Mike Africa Jr. was born in a Philadelphia jail in 1978 to 2 MOVE 9 parents serving sentences for the death of Officer Ramp. He grew up visiting his mother and father in separate state prisons. In the years since both parents were paroled in 2018, Mike Africa Jr. has become the public voice of MOVE. In 2023, he bought the row house at 6221 Osage Avenue, the same lot where the FBI's pre-positioned C4 killed his 5 young cousins. He is raising the money to build a memorial on it. The bones are still being recovered. The agent who supplied the bomb has never been named on a public FBI record. MOVE is still there. If you have spent the last 20 minutes watching this and thinking the FBI gave them the bomb 4 months early and got away with 30 days suspended pay, that is exactly what BHD does. Forensic documents, named operators, the buried detail nobody else surfaces. Subscribe. The Philadelphia bombing was not the first time an American city was attacked from the air. On May 31st and June 1st, 1921, biplanes flew over the Greenwood neighborhood of Tulsa, Oklahoma, the black district known as Black Wall Street. Eyewitnesses on the ground described turpentine bombs and incendiary devices falling from the air onto the rooftops. Historians estimate as many as 300 black Tulsans were killed. Insurance claims were denied under the riot clause. No one was ever criminally charged. That is the next video. The 2 largest aerial assaults on American citizens in modern history. Both targeted black neighborhoods. Both are still being litigated.